I think most people would agree Rainbow Six Siege has a pretty entitled fan base, but the most entitled FPS fan base doesn't go to Siege. I'd probably say it goes to Call of Duty. Call of Duty had an opportunity to make more sophisticated, involved, and intuitive movement mechanics into something that was palatable and marketable on a mainstream level. Due to the timing of Infinite Warfare being what it was, the executives helming the ship made the call to pivot back to boots on the ground, and the rest of the FPS genre has suffered as a result. This video explains my reasoning. Modern Warfare 3 is finally on the horizon. I can't say how popular COD is anymore because the Elon app gaslights me regularly into thinking that the average person is actually at the brink of insanity, and if the average person is at the brink of insanity, are any of us truly sane? Anyway, this video isn't about gazing into the abyss. For legal reasons, this video does not condone abyss gazing. Do as I say, not as I do, kids. Before I talk more about it, I'd like to talk about this video's sponsor, Factor. All right, so let's take a look at what we got here. That's just, no. If you live with me currently, you know that I really do not like having a messy kitchen. I wasn't always this way. One of the things that I think a lot of people stray away from cooking for is they get deterred by the actual cleanup process and the time involved in it. If you work from home like me, though, it gets a little bit frustrating cooking 3 square meals over the course of a day. You get in the habit of just making really simple stuff, and you lose out on some of the quality of the food. Fortunately, Factor has you covered on that ground. Factor gives you fresh, never frozen meals delivered straight to your door. They taste great, and they don't take any effort to make at all. Just put them in the microwave for 2 minutes. The amount of variety they have on tap here is crazy. You can go low cal if you need to. You can go high protein if you're a bodybuilder. There's vegetarian options. There's so many different plans that you can get tailored specifically for you, and it all tastes great. I tried out a chili bowl with some sour cream. I'm down here in South Texas, so I can't get enough of it. It's quite good. Jalapeno peppers, poblano peppers, good seasoning. It's really difficult to complain about. What's not difficult to complain about is that we don't have a freaking dining room table. If all this sounds good to you, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code GGE50. That's GGE50, and you'll get 50% off of your first Factor box. Huh? Hold on a second. What'd you say? I can't hear you. That's so confusing. Sam was on the phone, and then I thought he was talking to me, and then I was like, hello, and then he kept like talking back, and I was like, hold on, I can't hear you. And then I went to the bottom of the stairs, and he was like, yeah, this is Sam from the Wiki Logistics. And I'm like, oh, he's on the phone.
Did you have one of the Factor thingies?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah?
It's like a chili bowl, yeah. So if you're not familiar with the drama and why this particular entry into the title has so much writing on it, here's the skinny. Basically, the narrative is that Modern Warfare 2 screwed everything up by going the tactical cinematic route with its slower movement, slower mechanics, and more action movie-centric sort of feel and design to the gunplay. Modern Warfare 3 is here to save the day by going back to that so-called classic COD formula and pretty much just going back on all the changes that happened in Modern Warfare 2. I know this is mainly a Siege channel, so most people are probably going to be very confused upon hearing this because Siege, despite all we say about the TDM meta, is still, mechanically speaking, much slower and more deliberate than even Modern Warfare 2 was. Was it slower to the point of being bad design? I don't personally think so. In my opinion, the game was just slowed down to a reasonable level that was in line with where the rest of the industry was going, or at least that's probably what the executives thought. People are finally starting to conceptualize theory and fundamentals when it comes to playing FPS games in a multiplayer space. So if you try to pivot to an esports focus, you're going to inevitably make the game a little bit more slower and thoughtful. The reason for this is because our most popular FPS games on the market right now are Counter-Strike and Valorant. I've said for years that I don't think saying Valorant copied Counter-Strike is a particularly helpful or useful argument for any kind of point, because Counter-Strike is the golden standard for competitive FPS game design. Everybody else takes notes from Counter-Strike. Competitive FPS games as we know them do not exist without Counter-Strike, just like FPS games as we know them do not exist without the original Doom. Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. I think what's more frustrating than anything is this idea that in creating Modern Warfare 2 as a more Tarkov-like COD, the game was inherently bad. Most of you are aware that something being bad objectively and you personally not liking it are not the same thing. I don't like a lot of modern trap music. Now, once in a while, I'll feel like I'm getting somewhere and learning a thing or two about the genre. For example, I'm a huge fan of Travis Scott. So if I put this on radio, on YouTube Music, and it auto-generates songs, it'll give me a couple of songs I also really like. Like, I love this Baby Keem and Kendrick track. I like this track from the Spider-Verse movie. I love Donald Glover. Every single project he's put out, I've been a huge fan of. What's up? And then I get a track with Drake on it. I can't stand this guy. Is it because I don't know what I'm talking about? I can't recognize the production quality. I don't know what's going on with it. I have no idea. Maybe it's because I don't listen to the genre that much and my opinion isn't that well educated. But for whatever reason, I just can't listen to anything this dude has put out within the past 5 years or so. All the production just sounds really flat and dry and uninspired, and I just don't hear anything interesting going on. Am I going to call Drake a bad artist? Well, no, but I really just do not like his music. I feel like a lot of FPS fans are kind of in the same boat. Maybe Call of Duty is the Drake of FPS gaming. Some Call of Duty entries are quite solid, and some of them are just, what the hell was going on here? But if you are an FPS gaming fan, there's like this weird social proof that you have to at least appreciate Call of Duty in certain respect. Even some of the older ones, especially towards that kind of, mediocre late 2010s, early 2020 era where you just had a bunch of stinkers in a row. Like Black Ops 4 was just mid as fuck. And I hear people talk about it like, oh, we didn't know how good we had it. What? What the hell happened with Black Ops 3, man? The only thing I remember people saying about this game when it came out was how much it was trying to rip off Titanfall 2. Now people look back on it like, oh, we didn't realize how good we had it. Okay, asterisk, I did hear quite often that the zombies were quite solid, so it gets a star for that. But seriously, where were y'all when the game was out? I hear a lot of people talk about how underrated Infinite Warfare and Advanced Warfare were, how the movement was actually really cool. We were pushing the envelope and competitive COD was starting to get really exciting. We had Uplink. Uplink was so fun. Uplink was literally gun basketball. That shit was dope. Where was everyone? Where was this energy like 8 years ago? Now, this isn't a call out video. I'm not mad at anyone, but it's just strange to me how every time Call of Duty tried to do something new with the movement, it was critically maligned because it was deviating too much from the formula, or, it was reinventing the wheel. And then when you finally went back to the formula, and then you tried to embrace it in a more tactical direction because you wanted it to be more legitimate, everybody got upset with that. Like, maybe try a new flavor of ice cream. I know everybody was acting like it was some kind of weird exotic flavor like pistachio almond, but maybe it was more really like cookies and cream. And pistachio almond isn't even that exotic, okay? I'll fuck up some pistachio almond. But it really feels often with a mainstream license like Call of Duty, and this license in particular seems to follow through with this sort of social proof more than anything else. It really does feel like if we don't have anything but vanilla forever, every single year, then it's bad. And that's so frustrating because Call of Duty was industry leading at one point, and it was pushing the boundaries of where we were taking the mechanical design of multiplayer spaces. And now we just refuse to do anything different. Now, I played the crap out of Call of Duty when I was growing up, pretty much since the first Modern Warfare. I think a lot of people in my age group were socialized on the Xbox 360. Obama was president. Eli Manning was a Super Bowl champion. It was something, man. The entertainment industry loves nostalgia. It's an easy dunk. You do a thing that people already liked. You just do it again, and then people will supposedly like it again. In theory. But it's important to contextualize that the whole movement renaissance in FPS gaming that I hear people talk about is not a mainstream phenomenon. The movement shooter as you know it, conceptualized by something like Titanfall, that was the first point at which it really kind of started to go semi-mainstream. Like, yes, it is popular, but it's something like a niche popularity, right? It's something that's kind of enjoyed by hobbyists. The reality is that multiplayer gaming is the predominantly enjoyed form of gaming nowadays. And movement and multiplayer usually don't correlate really well because that has a skill ceiling. And if it's too hard, then you can't put it in the game because then people will bitch and moan about it. When you make a multiplayer game, you have to take other people's enjoyment within the play space into consideration. That means you have to design the game with the play space in consideration. I don't think we're ever going to get that chaotic, if everything is overpowered, nothing's overpowered kind of balancing from the original Modern Warfare 2 ever again. I just don't think that is going to be released anytime soon. Multiplayer gaming is too big, and you need to optimize for retention. If people get off of the game, if they go and do something else, that's less time that they spend in the game buying freaking skins. You have to keep people online. You have to keep people in the loop, in the matchmaking loop. You have to make sure certain levels of theory are applied for the play space. Unfortunately, this can cause companies to cut corners on the fun part, and then they just focus solely on the balancing over everything else. The phrase I came up with to describe this is called balancing a spreadsheet versus balancing a video game. Okay, this is something that Siege gets criticized for allegedly quite often. So you can't put the cart before the horse. Tailored and exceptional single player experiences don't always translate to good multiplayer. Good multiplayer does not always translate to good single player. Once in a while, something comes up and it's able to do both. And if you do that, congrats, you win. Anyway, Titanfall 2 obviously had a really rough time because of the release window. There's not a lot you can say to get around that. Getting sandwiched in between Battlefield 1 and a new Call of Duty game was just too much. It was a burgeoning IP. It hadn't cut its teeth yet. And yeah, the game wasn't completely abandoned. I guess in the same sense, you know, your dad didn't abandon you. He did come back for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Where my hug at? But I do think the game's design was a bit more involved and maybe a bit too difficult for a lot of people to wrap their head around conceptually. The skill floor was quite big. The difference between somebody who had experience and who didn't was very noticeable. Too much of anything is bad, and if you're trying to make it in this industry, you got to take your audience into account. I know that I've said sometimes the audience is dumb, and that's right, and unfortunately, it still doesn't matter. Sometimes the audience is dumb, and you still kind of have to work with it. That's just the nature of the game. Still, I feel like Call of Duty had an opportunity to take the concepts from a game like Titanfall 2, repurpose them, and make them into something people could still get behind. Oh wait, that's called Apex Legends. The game you're looking for is called Apex Legends. And Apex Legends has problems just like any other live service game. But they got rid of the Titans and they got rid of the wall running. The Titans, fine. The wall running, that was horseshit. They could have kept the wall running. And the art design, like everybody who gives Siege shit for changing up their art style, that change was never as bad as what happened when they went from Titanfall 2 to Apex Legends. I miss this so much. It looks so cool, dude. The Ridley Scott alien, clicky clacky, beep boop, like big buttons, go boop and beep, sci-fi. God damn it. Why? Why did you abandon this? It was such a, like, it was the modern interpretation of that old school, like 80s kind of retrofuturism, and you just said, fuck off. Like, the fact that they abandoned this is just God, it's enraging. I think that in regards to Call of Duty finally pivoting back to supposed faster paced movement, I'll play it and have my fill and all that. But by November of 2024, everybody's going to be asking rather predictably, okay, what the hell are we going to do next? And it's a good question, because when we finally released Modern Warfare 3 and we finally did it, we can slide cancel again. Cool. Now what? Did we seriously just wait a year to add back slide canceling? Is this the baseline that we're starting from? What else would we like to do? Well, we can't do the Tactical Bro Tarkov stuff anymore because that was bad, apparently. Do you want to even make another Call of Duty game at this point? I mean, like, what's next? I think the answer was movement, but people didn't like the jetpack stuff. And I guess the only good form of Call of Duty movement is slide canceling and YY spamming. Maybe it's got nothing to do with the gameplay design. Maybe we should consider that a lot of these people think of this crap like a fashion statement and don't really know anything about game design, and the most critically vocal and angry about the jetpack stuff. Maybe some of them had legitimate concerns and some of them just couldn't fucking hang.